Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Welcome to our viewers in Ottawa tonight. Well, 9,000 LCBO workers across the province are now on strike. This after talks between the Liquor Board and the union representing the workers broke down last night, leading to the Crown Corporation's first strike in its nearly 100-year history. Del Manukduk takes us through day one of the strike.
All around the province, LCBO workers are raising signs and their voices.
Well, we're very serious about this. This is something that must stop. The Ford government is completely in control of this right now, and our management are not paying attention to us, the needs of the workers.
The main thing they want is job security.
Most people I know, it took them over 10 years to be actually given some sort of stable work, to actually know that they would get up in the morning 5 days a week, be able to go for a full shift, and be paid accordingly.
At this Brampton location, instead of selling booze, they're spending the day educating the public.
The amount of pay that we're going to get today, just striking on a day-to-day basis compared to what we can get on a regular basis, it's quite low, and it's definitely not enough. So we definitely don't want to be doing this, but I think it's time now to make a point.
People can still buy alcohol at wine racks, grocery stores, and independent distillers. The beer store is still chugging along, and LCBO convenience outlets that serve rural communities are open. But if you head there, you might be in for a disappointment.
I'm probably not gonna get what I need, but yeah, no, I've never seen it this empty, that's for sure.
By the noon hour, the majority of Caledon's not-so-secret stash have been raided.
It's slim pickings. Obviously, there's been people in before me and stocking up in case it goes longer than we anticipate.
The gas station convenience store was caught off guard by the boom in business.
We stocked in the morning. It was totally full, but right now it's half empty and I have to restock it again.
As for restaurants, they have reason to cheers after getting word late Thursday night about a wholesale buying option.
There will be 5 retail locations in key areas of the province, the most populous areas: Toronto, Mississauga, Woodbridge, London, and Ottawa. And they are to dedicate their services to licensee shopping.
The president of the Ontario Restaurant, Hotel and Motel Association says that option will be available starting Wednesday, and that licensees can email ahead of time to shop between 12 and 4 p.m.
The online is still the core channel that the LCBO and our industry most likely will be using because it will be more efficient.
That online ordering channel is going to be very important, but also a challenge for smaller, independently owned restaurants who are required to buy by the case. So obviously a bigger investment than many of them would like to make. They'll be looking forward to that July 19th date when the LCBO will open up 32 locations across the province for in-store shopping. Del Manukduk, CBC News, Brampton.
So how did it come to this? The first strike in the nearly century-long history of the LCBO. Both sides say the key issue is the government's plan to dramatically expand where booze can be sold. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, takes a look at the sticking points.
Hey, whoa, Stockport needs to go! Hey, whoa.
Striking LCBO workers make it clear who they feel they're up against.
Let's be clear, Doug Ford is bullying us. That's what it is. He's trying to bully thousands of workers to accept their fate and accept that we will be gone.
LCBO management says it tabled a comprehensive offer to the union late Thursday afternoon and has made public some of the highlights. Wage increases of 2.5%, 2.5%, and 2% over a 3-year contract, converting 400 casual workers to permanent full-time status, and improving severance for laid-off employees. Job security is one of the union's top issues. They fear the impact of the government's plan to allow 8,000 convenience stores to sell booze.
We see this as an existential crisis for the LCBO. Do we want to have a public provider of alcohol as we've had for the past 100 years? Or are we just moving into a Wild West private model?
Ready-to-drink beverages are now the fastest growing segment of the alcohol market, racking up hundreds of millions of dollars in sales in Ontario. Right now in this province, you can only buy them at the LCBO. No! That will change this summer, with the government allowing their sale from grocery and convenience stores.
If the product becomes available in a variety of sources, people are going to go to the most convenient source. And so, yeah, so that's definitely going to have an effect.
The union believes that effect will snowball.
spirit-based ready-to-drink beverages going, LCBO stores closing, public revenues being lost, jobs being lost. This is what we're facing.
The government's view? Particularly disappointed that the union is opposed to giving people what it calls the choice and convenience of buying ready-made drinks in grocery and convenience stores. While both sides say they are willing to get back to the table, there are no signs right now of that actually happening. The union says it has a robust strike fund and says its members are ready for a long fight. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The African Canadian Association of Ottawa and other advocates are calling on the federal government to stop the deportation of a family that's been in the country for 7 years. They fled their home in Nigeria, where their daughter faced female genital mutilation. Arthur White-Crummey has this story.
Adepeju Makinde and her husband Dapo have built a life in Canada, a beautiful home in suburban Ottawa, 3 young children, including 2 born in Canada. They work, they volunteer. But now, after 7 years in Canada and 6 in Ottawa, it could soon be over. After an unsuccessful hearing for refugee status and appeals exhausted, Adepeju has to face the unthinkable, deportation to Nigeria.
Going back is not an option. You can imagine being in a country for over 7 years. You've invested the 7 years of your life in a country, and then the country just turns their back at you and say, okay, we don't want you anymore, you have to go.
She has to face that prospect without her husband. Adepeju says Dapo is in jail at the Ottawa Carleton Detention Centre. He was detained last month, apparently because the family hadn't made preparations for their removal.
It's been a very traumatizing experience for me. I've been back and forth from the hospital since then, from the emergency, based on my mental health. Today I still have an appointment with my psychologist, just for them to try to help, but I don't know.
The African Canadian Association of Ottawa calls Dapo's detention unacceptable and says a family with such deep roots in Canada deserves special consideration. Its head is asking the immigration minister to step in. He says the family has been waiting almost 3 years for word on a bid for permanent residency on humanitarian and compassionate grounds. He says processing times are too long, and removal after such a lengthy wait uproots the family.
It's been delayed, right? And when you have somebody in the country and then waited this very long time before you get to know the result of their case, that is troubling.
It's not an uncommon situation, according to an immigration lawyer.
It means that it's incredibly complex for the whole family. They've been separated from their country of origin for a longer period of time. They often don't have connections there anymore. So the longer you wait, the longer you hope, and the longer you detach from your country of origin.
Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada declined to comment on the McKindy's case for privacy reasons. It says wait times are currently about 24 months, but that can vary widely. It says highly trained officers make decisions on a case-by-case basis. They consider how settled a family is in Canada and the best interests of their children when assessing applications on humanitarian and compassionate grounds. Arthur White-Crummey, CBC News, Ottawa.
7 people were injured, 1 critically, in a crash in Milton today. It happened on Regional Road 25 near Whitlock Avenue. Halton paramedics say most of the injuries were minor, but 1 person was taken to hospital in life-threatening condition. The area was closed to traffic for much of the evening for the investigation, but all roads have since reopened. Toronto police have now charged a 14-year-old boy with first-degree murder after a shooting in North York last month. The shooting happened in the area of Jane Street and Falstaff Avenue just before midnight on June 24th. Police say 4 suspects got out of a vehicle and several shots were fired. Officers located a man with gunshot wounds. He was transported to hospital where he died. The victim has been identified as 20-year-old A.J. Simpson of Toronto. The identity of the 14-year-old cannot be released under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. And 2 people have now been charged in relation to a fatal stabbing at the Jane subway station last month. Officers responded after 2 men got into a fight, with 1 man stabbing the other, killing him. Toronto police say a man and a woman were arrested in Waterloo yesterday with the help of Waterloo Regional Police. Their charges include second-degree murder and accessory after the fact to murder. The victim has been identified as a 39-year-old man from Toronto. Police have not said whether the victim and the suspects knew each other. A Toronto City Councillor is on a mission to get a stylist for the city. Josh Matlow says streets are in desperate need of beautification, and he's put forth a motion to establish a central commissioner. But as Brittany Billette tells us, some people are already trashing the idea.
Cheap, filthy, and ugly.
This is not quality public realm.
That's how Councillor Josh Matlow describes Toronto's streetscape.
There certainly are standards for what we put in the public space. The problem is they're incredibly low standards. We reach for the height of mediocrity.
He says street infrastructure like bike lanes and trash cans should be more durable and beautiful, but a lack of coordination between city departments is part of the problem. Last week, he launched an official effort to give Toronto a makeover.
What I'm asking the city to do is just set our standards higher for how we want to design the city.
His motion calls on staff to look into the feasibility and cost of setting up an office that would set new high standards for city streetscapes. He already has some allies.
Streets in Toronto are deteriorating public spaces, and we want them to be beautiful, better.
Folks on the street have mixed feelings about a beautification effort.
It would be fantastic to do that. However, I don't know if our city has enough money to see that through.
We waste so much money, so let's put some of it to where everyone sees it.
A statement from a spokesperson with the city read, "The City of Toronto is continually working to improve public spaces while ensuring its investments in infrastructure and services deliver value for money for residents." 3 city councillors voted against Matlow's motion, including Stephen Holliday, who told CBC Toronto, "It's not a vote against a beautiful city, it's a vote against growing bureaucracy." City staff say they'll have a report on the feasibility of Matlow's motion ready by the end of the year. In the meantime, they're encouraging residents to report broken city infrastructure by calling 311. Brittany Billette, CBC News.
Welcome back. Hurricane Beryl has been downgraded to a tropical storm and is now making its way into the Gulf of Mexico. The storm lost much of its strength as it crossed the Yucatan Peninsula, but it is expected to regain strength and head toward northern Mexico once it's over the warm waters of the Gulf. Beryl made landfall near the resort town of Tulum just before dawn as a Category 2 hurricane. It brought heavy rains and sustained winds of more than 140 kilometers per hour, downing trees and cutting out power in many areas. There have been no reports of deaths or injuries in Mexico, but Beryl is being blamed for at least 11 deaths in the Caribbean. And we're hearing from Torontonians who were caught up in the powerful storm when it made landfall in the Caribbean earlier this week. Chris Glover takes a closer look.
That looks like the safer pool. This is not at all the kind of video Kyle James thought he'd be taking on his Jamaican vacation with his girlfriend Ebony Brown.
By the time the rain stopped and we looked outside, it looked like carnage. Like everything had changed.
The Toronto couple's flight home was canceled, and they had to extend their hotel stay after taking cover as Hurricane Beryl landed in Jamaica earlier this week.
I kind of undersold it in my mind, and then when it actually came, like the closer and closer it got, it was like, wow, this wind is getting serious. And just more and more concerning.
Was that scary at all when you were dealing with that or hearing that?
No, but it shocked us at one point because we didn't expect it to be that loud. Like whenever we would open the door, it was significantly louder than we expected.
I want to make it abundantly clear. Service becomes second priority to me right now.
Tourists across the island nation were under a countrywide curfew as the storm approached, shuttering Jamaica's international airports.
We have a room set up with all the equipment and all the staffing to monitor and communicate with all our destination areas.
David Dobson with Jamaica's tourism ministry says when the storm hit, the country activated its emergency operations center at a hotel, complete with satellite phones to communicate with operators and tourists about the potential dangers of the storm, sometimes shuttling people between airports and shelter.
Having assessed the magnitude of the hurricane, we thought it was necessary to ramp up a bit.
He says in the end, there were no major incidents reported involving tourists, and the emergency center is now deactivated. According to Global Affairs Canada, there are more than 1,600 Canadians registered in Jamaica.
We can receive guests.
Back in Toronto, Angela Bennett is the regional director for Canada for the Jamaica Tourist Board. Her Toronto office snapped into overdrive this week, helping those Canadian tourists communicate with hotels and airlines.
For example, we wouldn't want everybody to rush to the airport. So in each hotel, we're communicating what airlines are coming in, when is the airport opening.
At Global Medic's Etobicoke packing site, crews of volunteers are pitching in to help those affected by the hurricane 3,000 kilometers away.
We are prepared. We've got lots of aid in pre-position ready to go at a moment's notice for things like this.
Packing emergency kits with shelf-stable food, basic hygiene products, a solar light to help with power outages, and portable water purification units to provide access to clean drinking water.
We don't want people getting sick. We want to make sure that they can have access to it in their homes, and we want to keep people out of hospitals wherever possible. So that's the most important piece.
Volunteers already packed an Air Canada cargo flight to Jamaica.
It means good to come and help, because when you are helping, you are also learning something new that you don't know.
It definitely is a good cause. You feel good about yourself by doing whatever little bit you can.
It was our anniversary earlier in the week. And we just wanted to go somewhere nice. The crazy part was one of those was Mexico, and I found out the storm is going to Mexico now too. So either place we had chosen would have happened.
Back with James and Brown, it feels like destiny brought them to the storm's path.
My partner is actually also very humble, but she is studying to be a psychiatrist, so she definitely kept us sane, both of us. So yeah, I think that helped a lot. But yeah, you're right. You're entirely right to say we are in good spirits. We're all right.
Ebony, it sounds like you're a good person to have in a crisis.
100%.
Thank you.
And they say this storm won't stop them from traveling to Jamaica or anywhere else in the future. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
The largest and longest running Islamic convention in the country is being held in Bradford this weekend. Organizers of the annual Jalsa Salana are expecting over 20,000 people from across Canada to attend. This is the convention's 46th year in Canada. It's happening at the Hadika Ahmad today through Sunday. Live music, food, entertainment, you name it, the city's got it this weekend. It's another busy one in Toronto with many exciting events happening all over our city. That includes multiple festivals and a major soccer match tonight that has Team Canada fans on the edge of their seats. Tyler Cheese has a roundup for us.
A little rain isn't stopping these jazz fans.
We're going to stick it out for a little bit, get a little bit wet and enjoy the jazz.
The sounds of Leslieville and Riverside and Jimmy Simpson Park is the first of many Beaches Jazz Festival weekends.
And all weekend we're here, and it's all free, and each and every year everyone looks forward and marks these dates, and it brings thousands of visitors and thousands of tourists, and it makes Toronto very vibrant.
I think it's a really good opportunity for musicians to get together and play some stuff that maybe we wouldn't get a chance to play otherwise.
The Beaches Jazz Festival officially starts tonight and runs all month long with different events every weekend. The sounds of Leslieville and Riverside is on until Sunday. Next weekend is a favorite for amateur and practice dancers alike, Salsa on the Beach, followed by another festival weekend after that, and then the world-famous Street Festival along Queen Street East. That runs from July 25th to 27th. Meanwhile, in other parts of the city tonight, fans are cheering on Team Canada in the Copa America.
So everyone's so hyped about this. We getting everyone together. There's a bunch of us, all our friends here. It's a sick spot. We came last week. We got a big win. We qualified. It was a good draw. And now, we're hoping for a win today.
It's so wonderful, that spirit. Torontonians being united by sports.
And that's just the first night of the weekend. If you feel like dancing, you can head to Salsa on St. Clair. The street festival featuring Latin music and cuisine is on tomorrow and Sunday. Also this weekend, Taste of the Middle East is happening at Nathan Phillips Square, now in its 7th year. And over in Scarborough, it's Taste of Lawrence, celebrating its 20th year. That also runs tomorrow and Sunday and features live entertainment, street vendors, and flavors from every cultural community in the GTA. So whatever you're in the mood for this weekend, it's happening right here in Toronto. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, before we get to weather, a quick update on that Canada-Venezuela match. Team Canada ended up winning in a penalty shootout. They are now headed to the semifinals of Copa America, where they will face Argentina. That's on Tuesday. All right, let's go to Victor Palo now with a check on your forecast. And Victor, it's been hot and muggy all week. What does the next few days hold?
Taking a look at the long-range forecast for the weekend and things that we could expect. Now, the big takeaway here is we do know the temperatures are going to remain quite humid and warm consistently as it's been throughout the week. Now, another thing to note is with the warm temperatures, we got to find strategies of being able to beat that heat, and you got to have strategies of being able to recognize if you're feeling dizzy or faint from all of that weather. Now, quick look ahead for overnight temperatures and what we're expecting when we start our day tomorrow. It's going to be around 19 degrees, and this is going to be around the coolest it will be all day. 19 degrees, but still feeling closer to 26, 25 degrees. Again, that's not going to be anything light if you're going out for a run first thing in the morning, or if you decide to golf or do any kind of strenuous activities, even gardening, for example. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you're wearing loose layered clothing. And as well, if you are outdoors, you're trying to stay as cool as possible and around as much shade as possible. Now, looking at how much rain and when it's going to be falling, we do know that overnight into the Saturday morning and towards Sunday as well, it's going to be a consistent flow of scattered showers. Sunday's when we're expecting things to wrap up, but when things wrap up on Sunday, there's going to be more cloud cover coming in, as we do see here. Sunday's going to be one of the cloudier days of the week. Not much sunshine, but we'll see a little bit, but you can't count on it in comparison as we had earlier in the week. Now, here's some tips when it comes to heat exhaustion, some symptoms you want to watch out for. If you're feeling dizzy, if you have a rapid heartbeat, or if you have a headache, or if you're feeling a bit faint, you want to stop any kind of physical activities or anything you're doing outdoors, such as running or even playing golf. You want to take a seat, grab yourself some water, find yourself some shade as well, too. And a couple of tips on how we can beat that heat. Well, as we talked about, you want to drink lots of water, take cool showers, wear loose clothing, staying in the shade, and most importantly, do not leave those pets locked inside of cars. Now, take a quick look at our 3 and 5 day forecast. A couple things to note. A lot of that rain will be coming in on Saturday. We're expecting a cloudy Sunday, but then Monday we'll get a return of that sunshine, and we can eventually see the temperatures start to drop the closer we get to Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Hope you all have yourselves a great weekend, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Victor. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone.